Welcome back. You're watching Overdrive. Now, Honda launched its hatchback, the Jazz, about a decade ago, and it's managed to sell about 2 million units in Japan alone. In India, the Jazz did get critical acclaim, but it didn't take off, and that perhaps is pegged to the way that it was priced. Honda hopes its new iteration will change all of that. Shumi was in Japan, got behind the wheels of the new Honda Jazz, or what the Japanese call the Honda Fit, and here's his verdict on this latest version.
Today we are at Twin Ring Motegi in Japan. We are driving a number of Honda cars. There are two cars that are really important. The first one is right there in front of you. That's the new Jazz. It's called the Fit here. That's why the sign says Fit. But this car will come to India in 2015. Is this the exact final shape of the car? We're not sure yet. There's a lot of time to come before the car comes. But we're going to drive this car for a very short while today and tell you what's different.
But first, what's new in the new Jazz or the Honda Fit? Well, for starters, the whole front end is new, echoing the current Honda styling ethos. The headlights are now stretched horizontally and the Honda badge grows in significance. The huge 4 brake vents round out an aggressive face. At the side, a definition line starts at the front wheel arch and it gains in strength and importance as it streaks to the well-proportioned tail lamps. A second crease below completes the side body.
If you look at the silhouette of the car, you can already see that the lines have changed. The rear end is a little more squat, and at the front, it slopes down cleanly to the nose, but not as clean a line as the old Jazz used to be. And I think that gives the front a little bit more of a definition. It looks more like a two-box car than the last Jazz did. Overall, they've brought the styling up to the current Honda standard, and it looks like a part of the current Honda family, including the new nose, which looks like the new Civic's nose, which came out recently. Overall, it's a nice, clean upgrade to the Jazz, and I think what I like about it is that the last Jazz, when it came out, looked really fresh, and this one looks even fresher. So I'm driving the new Jazz and I can already see that the interior has a lot of changes. It's a very, very different looking interior from the original one. And the immediate difference is the meters. They look cleaner, they look fresher. There's a big screen on this one. I don't know if that will be an option in India. The cup holders, the ones that we loved, which are in front of the air conditioning vent so that the drink was always cool. The driver's side is still there. It looks smaller, but that side, that particular cup holder has disappeared. But otherwise, it looks nice. This is a black car, so the sense of space is a little bit restricted. But you have to remember that the original Jazz was an extremely spacious car, and I expect this one to be just as spacious. I'll come back to you from the rear seat to tell you how that feels like in a bit.
As it turns out, time was short and I never got a chance to film in the back of this car. I did get to sit in there though, and I can assure you that like the Jazz we knew in India, the new car is spacious and as versatile as we expect the new one to be. And now to the engines. India never got the 1.5-litre petrol the car usually gets in other markets thanks to our 1.2-litre excise exemption rule. However, today was my chance to drive the all-new direct injection 1.5-litre petrol and see how much of a difference it makes versus the 90 PS 1.2-litre that we are used to.
So I'm in the new Jazz. This is the automatic version, and you can immediately tell that this engine feels a little bit lighter on its feet than the old Jazz. We're at a racetrack. It's really difficult for me to judge whether this car is actually making more torque than before. If you remember, one of the criticisms of the old Jazz was the fact that the engine took a lot of time to spin up, and you had to use a lot of high revs if you wanted to get good acceleration and good speed. It was okay in the city, but on the highway you'd feel it a little bit. But overall, it feels really nice and clean, just like the old Jazz did. It turns into corners very, very nicely. And overall, I personally believe that the Jazz was one of the best hatchbacks India has ever seen, and I think this Jazz improves on it a little bit. But obviously, the true test of the car is in the real world, and this is a small part of the Twin Ring Motegi circuit we are driving, so it's not really representative. But overall, I'm quite happy. I quite like this car, and I continue to like the new version of this car.
Honda is of course building more than just the Jazz of this platform, as you'll see later on the show. Our drive in the new car was comically short and we tasted neither the Indian petrol engine nor the Indian diesel in the process. And still, the Jazz is as likeable and as promising a hatchback as we are expecting from Honda. And this time, this is a cheaper car to make and sell, so Honda will not make a pricing error either.
So that's the new Jazz. It looks cleaner, it looks fresher, and it drives a little bit better. This of course may not be the exact car that comes to India because there's still a year to go or more, and there might be a small update to this car before it comes to India. But overall, significant improvement over the old car, keeps everything that was good about the old car in there, including the versatile interior. But it looks fresh, and I like that.
Well, that's a look at the new Honda Jazz, but don't pull out your checkbooks just yet because it is going to take about a year to drive into India. Speaking of Honda, it has launched its bestseller, the City, with a diesel heart, while Royal Enfield has put out the Continental GT, and the price has made the wait worthwhile. Take a look at all the auto news.
Earlier this week, Honda unveiled the new City that will be available with a 1.5-litre iVTEC as well as a 1.5-litre iD-Tech engine that's already doing rounds in the Honda Amaze. The diesel City is expected to make more power and torque figures than the Honda Amaze and yet is expected to be just as fuel efficient. Pre-bookings have already started and the new City will officially launch in January next year. In a forthcoming show of Overdrive, we'll bring you our first impressions of the new Honda City. Nearly 2 years after it made an appearance at the 2012 Auto Expo in Delhi, Triumph has finally launched its products for commercial sale in India. The initial range is 10 models spread across all of its model lines. Representing the classic line are the Bonneville T100 and the Thruxton. The Roadsters are what we expect will bring the most volumes, and they are the Street Triple and the Speed Triple. In the cruiser line is Triumph's flagship and most expensive motorcycle, the Rocket 3. And also the slightly smaller Thunderbird Storm Cruiser. The Tiger 800 XC and the Tiger Explorer will represent adventure range, while the Daytona 675R is the sole super sport motorcycle that is being offered to India. Prices will range between 5.7 lakhs and 20 lakhs ex-showroom. Royal Enfield finally launched the new Continental GT to Indian enthusiasts at a very exciting price of 2.5 lakh rupees on-road Delhi and 2.15 lakh rupees on-road Mumbai. The unit construction 500cc engine has been enlarged to 535cc and now delivers 29 PS of max power and 44 Nm of max torque. The motorcycle's typical cafe racer look pays modern-day homage to the concept of 60s rockers and cafe racing. The motorcycle wears Pirelli Sport Demon tires, and the single front disc and front and rear Brembo calipers give excellent stopping power. The motorcycle is being manufactured from Royal Enfield's Oragadam plant in Chennai. As of now, the Continental GT, like its spiritual ancestors, is available in red color only, but there's a special yellow color too that you can get but only from April next year.
On that note, it is time for us to wrap up this edition of Overdrive, but do remember to tune into an unconventional On the Line with the CEO and Managing Director of Royal Enfield and Eicher Motors, Siddharth Lal. That's coming up for you on next week's episode. Till then, from all of us here on the show, thanks very much for watching. Do remember to stay in touch with us on Facebook and Twitter. Be safe and drive smart.